Hello, welcome to Late Night Creations. My name is Kendra and I'm glad you're here for today's video because I took 12 of my favorite house DIYs from all my past videos and put them in one video for you. So let's get crafting. These are the little houses I picked up at Dollar Tree. I took the labels off, kind of sanded all that sticky off, got them all nice and clean, and I'm going to use some chalk paint by Rust-Oleum in linen, which is a white, and some aged gray. I'm going to do one of them gray and 3 of them white, and I'm going to do the back and the sides. I'm going to use the back of these, and I'm going to give them all a good coat. I do 1 coat of gray, 2 coats of white. Okay, so then I'm going to use some of these craft sticks, and I cut them all to make some little rooftops. So I just put them on there and I just measured them out. I used my scissors to cut them and then a little bit of sandpaper to make the edges smooth. And they just fit on there nice and even. So then I'm going to paint them to contrast. I just did some of them black, some of them white. I think black and white are the only colors I use. No, I think I did some of them gray. So you'll see as we get into this, I just didn't want to bore you with lots of painting when there's a lot of fun elements in this. So I did paint this tall white one with the Antique Wax by Waverly to make it look like wood grain, because this is MDF or something like MDF, and so it didn't have a wood grain. Couldn't make it look like wood, stained wood. Couldn't stain it. So this looks like stained wood when you get through. I used this kind of roughed up chippy brush, and I kind of didn't make, you see how I'm kind of making little swirls and not making it all real straight so that it kind of looks a little bit more like wood grain. There we go. I'm going to let it dry really good, and I think I go to another project before I come back to this one. Yes, I'm going to go to this little white house, and I'm going to put my little black roof on it to see where I need to place this little stencil I made. So I made this stencil on my Cricut to put some windows on this little house. So there's 4 little houses in total. I don't want you to get confused because I kind of go a little bit back and forth to work on them while paint dries. So I'm going to use my transfer paper, sticky paper, to put this stencil on, and I don't really measure it. I just kind of put it on there. I do kind of measure it to see that it's straight, and it's straight enough. I don't typically measure, I just eyeball it, and it was on there pretty straight. And then I'm going to use the aged gray and a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to dab, 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 dab till I get it on there all good, and make sure that there's not any white showing through anywhere. And you know, you can do 2 or 3 coats, however much that you want to do. It depends on how much coverage you want. I wanted a pretty good coverage because this is more of a modern look, so I didn't want it to look too distressed. And then I'm just going to cut that tip off because I can use this sponge again and again. You know, that's probably the second time I've used it because it was kind of short. I'm just going to peel this stencil off to reveal our little windows, and they came out really good. And if you have a little bit of bleeding somewhere, then you can just touch it up with white paint. It worked really good. So now on the top of here, I'm going to put a little, I forget what you call that, a little sign that has the house number on it. I think there's a name for that. If you know, leave a comment down below and let me know. Or you could use a little, what is that, a craft stick, and cut it the length you want and just sand the edges a little bit round. And that looks really cute. You could put some antique wax on it and then write with a marker the house number. I cut this little piece of paper out with a Cricut. You could write it. But I have this balsa wood. It's really thin. And I'm going to cut out with my X-Acto knife. I used that piece that I cut out with my Cricut. I could have cut this out with my Cricut, but I misplaced the housing for my deep blade. So I just ended up doing it with my X-Acto knife. It was super easy to cut. You see me cutting it there. It's really thin, super easy to cut. It's very fragile too. So I took some sandpaper and very gently sanded it to round the edges and to make the edges smooth. It doesn't look like super great, but it looks a little bit, you know, I don't know, wonky, but I like how it turned out. And I'm going to paint it with the Antique Wax by Waverly so that it looks like wood grain, so it looks stained. And I think it turns out really cute. And I end up using a Sharpie marker to put the number on there, and it kind of didn't work real good because, you know, the wax got on the marker. I should have used a paint marker instead. But I mean, it worked out okay, but it just would have been better if I had used the paint marker. But I'm making these little houses for my adorable daughter-in-law, who I dearly love. And so she likes all things farmhouse. So I thought these would be really cute for her to put on the mantle of her fireplace or on her piano, or she's got some really cute places in her house that she could definitely put these. So these are some options I'm showing you that you could do with some paper or some craft sticks. And then I'm practicing on here to write their house number. I'm practicing on the back of the one I'm actually going to use, and it worked really good on there because I didn't have that waxy, you know, that waxy stain. It's not really a stain, it's a wax. So it works pretty good the first little bit. So I get to that third and fourth number, and that wax is all over the tip. Now I'm going to trace around this black paper, and because there's a kind of a border on the lip of that, on the inside, you're going to see when I flip it over, I cut on the inside of this. There's probably an easier way to do it, and I did have to keep trimming it down to make it fit inside there. And then I kind of got it a little bit short, so I had to add an extra piece. So I just wanted it to be a little bit more finished out and not those bright colors showing. So yeah, there I had to add an extra piece. You know, I kind of work harder, not smarter sometimes. But by the time I got to the fourth one, y'all, I had it figured out. That's usually how I do things. But anyway, they all got covered, and it's fine. I did kind of take my Sharpie and cover those straps at the top up so that you couldn't see it. Anyway, they look fine. I just didn't want all those bright colors showing. So all 4 of the houses got that black paper inside where those colors are. And then I just take some hot glue and glue down those painted craft sticks for our little roof pieces. I always have a trouble saying that word as a Southern girl. The roof. The roof. The roof. It sounds weird to me. Okay, so then look how cute. I love it. That one would look cute too. Either way, I think it looks cute. So I'm just going to hot glue it down. I'm loving how this turned out. Thumbs up. Yep, my little makeup brush to dust off all the crumbs. Okay, now we're going to work on the next little house. This is the gray one with the little black roof. Oh my gosh, I'm going to... You know, after you say something a few times and then it just doesn't sound right no matter how you say it. Okay, house top. I'm going to call it a house top in this video. Okay, cut this out on my Cricut and going to place it on here. Now, if you don't have a Cricut, you could use stickers. Dollar Tree has lots of stickers. Hobby Lobby has a lot of stickers. I had some I was going to show you, and I think I cut that part out or something. I know I had them laying there in the beginning of this video. Oh boy. Anyway, there are a lot of sticker options if you don't have a Cricut. So yeah, a lot of cute ones. Okay, this house was the problem child. I didn't show the step where I put some Mod Podge on top because I thought if I put the Mod Podge on top that the vinyl would stick, because we know the vinyl's not going to stick to that wax, that antique wax. So here I go with the Mod Podge. I am showing you. I'm putting the Mod Podge on, thinking that vinyl is going to stick to it. Okay, y'all, it sounds good, right? Just going to put a thin coat on there. So when I put my vinyl letters on there, they're going to stick, because I know they'll stick to Mod Podge. So I'm letting that dry. And I actually let it dry overnight because by the time I got to this house, it was getting really late. So I decided that from this balsa wood, I was gonna put this vinyl 6 on here and cut it out with my X-Acto knife. Sounds like a great idea, right? It was really easy to cut out. It went really smoothly, so I thought, and you're gonna see. I mean, it really wasn't bad, but I just really didn't like the way it looked when I got it finished because, well, I just didn't like it. So here you go. Sorry my hair is all up in the way, but I was trying to get to where I could see what I was doing and be. Sometimes you just have to be on top of the project, you know? So here it is. And I tried to sand the edges so they would be smooth, and I would have probably could have taken some, black paint and painted the edges, or a black Sharpie, or a black paint pen. But by this time, like I'm telling you, it was probably about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was kind of done. So see, the 6 didn't turn out too bad. I really wanted some different dimensions and stuff to it, but I decided not to use that. Toss it aside, and let's just go with the original, decal I made on my Cricut. So it turned out great. I love it. So here we go. A little bit of wax, because I really do want her to be able to dust them. There we go, or somebody. Okay, here we go, back to our problem child. Now, when I painted this, it got a little glob of paint on there, so I'm just sanding them so that they're gonna fit smoothly together, sit on there the way I want it to. Okay, so far so good, right? Everything's looking good. Oh, just wait for it. Okay, look at all those E's. Briley, Aubrey, Desiree, and their last name has lots of E's as well. So here we go. I start to peel it up, and I'm throwing a temper tantrum now. Oh, look at my head in my hands. I'm not crying, but I want to. Okay. So as I pull it off, all of that stuff comes off. The wax, the Mod Podge, everything. Oh man, I wanted to cry. I did not cry, but I wanted to. So I sanded, I repainted, I restained, I let it dry. Here we go again. So it's all dry. So I cut out some more words, some more names, and I'm just using those little Jenga blocks, tumbling tower blocks, as a guide to make it straight. And I just put them on individually by hand. And guess what? They're not all straight. They're not all even. It's a little organic. How about that? But it looks awesome compared to what I went through to get these names on this little house. And then they weren't, I put the names closer together. Not the letters closer together, but the names closer together. So I had too much space at the top. Oh boy, I'm a mess. So can you see that space I'm showing you? Because the names, were not as long. That's okay. I won't be a problem solver. So I thought I would cut out a little, attic window. Yeah, right? And it looks okay. But it just really, it wasn't wide enough. I don't know. I didn't like it. So here we go. I'm going to make a bow out of a little scrap of ribbon I had from something. I tried with that wider ribbon and it was too wide. So I'm just going to make a simple bow, 2 bunny ear bow, with the bunny ears. And, I fiddle with bows way too much. There's another good Southern term for you, fiddle. And then I'm just going to stick it up there on top, and it turned out super cute. Now, I don't like to pull them really, really tight, because then that little centerpiece gets really small. And so I just leave it a little bit loose so that the little centerpiece is not so tight. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to dovetail the ends and make that little bow on there. I'm going to hot glue it to the center of that house, and these 4 little houses are done. So I persevered with this stained house, and guess what? It turned out cute. You've never... There you go. Sorry if you're motion sick now. Let's get on to the next DIY. Some more of my strawberry fabric. A couple of these little tags I got in a big box of different type tags at Christmas, after Christmas on clearance, Hobby Lobby probably. I'm just going to stick this fabric down in there and roughly kind of draw the shape. This, I should have done it on the back side. Hindsight 2020. Ended up having to measure, trace it out, and cut it. I don't know. I do things the most difficult way sometimes. Just don't do as I do. Do as I say. Put the house down on there and trace it. That would have been the smartest thing to do. Anyway, I got it done, and it turned out cute. So I'm going to put some Mod Podge down and glue it in there. I'll make sure it fits first. I did do that. I'm going to put the Mod Podge. You know, I buy Mod Podge by the gallon. I've had my gallon for almost 3 years. And I just keep putting it in this small little container. And I'm going to put a pretty good thick coat on there. Put it down in there. I use a little squeegee tool that I have to smooth it all down. And it kind of smushes. That's a good word, right? It's a good crafting word. Smush all the glue in the fabric. And then I'm going to put another coat right on top of that fabric. Mod Podge works really good with fabric. It doesn't wrinkle, doesn't bubble. And there you go. It's nice and dry. I'm going to flip it over. I did two-sided, so that should count as 7 DIYs. And these are under $5 easily. I didn't tally up all the costs, but you can tell by the things that I have that they're well under $5. This little house from Dollar Tree was $1.25. This pack of tags was probably around, I think they are like $5.99. I got them on clearance, and there's like 20 of them in there. So $2, 20, and you do the math. I don't do math. So I have these napkins that I bought. You know, I'm using one napkin out of 20 that cost me a few dollars. So here we go. I'm going to cut them out just haphazardly because the background's white. It's going to work good. Kind of place them on there to see how I want it. I'm going to use some Mod Podge. Now, the trick for me is to do a thin coat of Mod Podge, and then use a piece of plastic. I just cut open a Ziploc bag, and then I use this brayer tool. I'm not sure I'm saying that correct, but this trick really works. No bubbles, and I'll lift that off very slowly. I've sped the video up so it looked like I did it fast, but I did it slowly. And very thin coats, because this napkin is very thin, and it will bubble and it will rip. I've had that happen before. I don't know what you could use in place of this tool. Maybe you could just use your fingers and rub it over that. I think that probably would work. I'm trying not to get that napkin glued down to the sides because I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and cut that off shortly. My grandpa used to say directly. I kind of say that sometimes, but it makes me sound really Southern, which I am really Southern, so I'm not going to apologize for that. That's who I am. So here we are, all those beautiful strawberries. Aren't they so pretty on there? I love strawberries, y'all, so I'm not gonna act like it's not beautiful. It's beautiful to me. Whether anybody else thinks it's beautiful or not, you know, you can leave me a comment and agree with me. If you don't agree with me, that's okay. That's okay. We all have our own taste. But I think that those strawberries are beautiful on there. Now I'm going to do a very thin, light-handed. I'm not rubbing very hard with that brush. Then I flip it over after it's dry, completely dry, and I'm going to decide that I want to paint this edge red. Should have taped it off because I ended up kind of making a mess. And where I'm rubbing that paint off the edges, I ended up sanding it. I didn't show it, but I ended up sanding that off so that it didn't have red blur on the sides. Okay, so I've got my little tags painted. I used a little bit of that Minwax paste that I love so much, and I put it on there. And the vinyl will stick after I put that paste on there. For some reason, this font did not want to work good with me this day, but I managed to piece it all back together. Some parts of it were really thin. So I put welcome on one and berry patch on the other. And I think these little tags turned out so cute. And then I decided they were really stark. So I took a little white and just dry brushed right around the edges ever so slightly, but it made such a difference. I didn't even really do it much in the middle. If I did, it was very, very little. Just around the edges to kind of give it a little more dimension and make it pop a little bit more. Then I tied some jute twine around the tops of through that hole. And I always use my masking tape trick to make the ends not fray, and twist it a little bit. And I see Sammy over at Unicorn That's Design. She puts a little hot glue on hers and twists it. I think I'm going to try that trick sometime too, because it would be a lot quicker than the masking tape trick. But if you need it to be long, to go through something long, like I've done some blocks and things like that, the masking tape may work a little better. But I'm going to try the hot glue next time, because I've seen her do that several times. Now this is a little hard with the masking tape on there to get it through, so I just use my needle nose pliers. As one of my viewers said, her dad used to call it his extra fingers. I love that, because that's exactly what it is for me. I say clients because I do hair as my day job, and those are my clients, and so I may call y'all my clients. You're not my clients. You're my friends. You're my viewers. You are definitely my friends. If you're hanging out with me long enough to watch me do a whole video, you are definitely my friend. So I'm going to glue this little greenery on top, and I did a good job on the greenery today, guys. I am going to brag on myself, because I usually stink at doing greenery and florals and all that, but I'm not going to lie. I love the way this turned out today. Now, you may say, what in the world is she talking about? This looks like whodunit. But I don't care. I like it. I like how it turned out. It did take me a minute to figure it all out, but I did it, and I think it turned out good. I'll bunch of this. Now this greenery I got at Hobby Lobby when it was half price, and I bought a long garland of it. And I just cut off pieces that I need. You can see a little bit of that. That's probably 1/15 of the garland that I have on the table right there. So here it is. Just a little side note here. I'm going to leave in the description box below linked the video of my strawberry kitchen. So if you want to go down there and click on that link, it'll take you straight to that video if you're interested. Another Dollar Tree find. I'm a sucker for a house, and I just took this little sand dollar off. It was very rubbery and sticky, very rubbery. And then I thought, oh, it was loose on the edge. I'll just rip all the paper off. Well, guess what? It didn't all come off, and I didn't really want to take it all off. And I tried to take the little wooden house top off, roof off, but it didn't want to come off. So I just sanded that and got it smooth enough to paint, and it worked out just fine. Give it some white chalk paint, and it turned out really good. It was easy to paint. I didn't even need to tape it off. I just made sure that I didn't have too much paint on my brush. And yeah, it was easy to paint. Even though, well, I did sand that paper smooth. And I'm going to have other things on the front of it, so it didn't even need to be, a little texture. Even if there is a little texture on there, it would be okay. And then I painted the back, because, we like the back to be finished. So I cut this stencil out on my Cricut. Now there are a lot of those greenery, Laurel looking rub-on transfers that I see other DIYers get from Dollar Tree. My Dollar Tree does not have those. So those would be really pretty to put on here. You can get stencils. I've seen stencils at Hobby Lobby that are these Laurel vines. So I think that you could do that if you don't have a Cricut. But I just designed that and did that. So I'm going to take these two greens. One is moss and one is celery, both by Waverly. And I'm going to use those with some makeup sponges. Bargain Bethany, I saw her do that when I very first started watching her a long, long time ago. And now she has 1 million subscribers. Oh, those are goals right there. But she's amazing, and she's put in a lot of hard work to get there. And so, I just started this channel, so we'll get there. we'll get there. You guys are going to help me. So I'm going to do just some of the bottom of that with the dark green. Cut off the tip of that. Just use the same sponge. Just cut off the part that had the dark green on it and dip in the light green and just blend it. Just kind of going over it and on top of it and just blend it. Kind of like a little bit of an ombre on each little branch. And it turns out so pretty. I didn't show you that I put masking tape around that so that I wouldn't get green paint all over my beautiful white. I did down there at the bottom a little bit, but I just went back with some white and touched it up. I'm not sure if I did that with the paint or sometimes I do it with my hands when I'm peeling the stencil off. Okay, so now I made this little Be Kind decal because I love the scripture, be kind. Ephesians 4:32, it says, be kind to one another, just like Christ has been kind to us. I'm paraphrasing a little bit there. I've never been one to be able to memorize scripture word for word, unless it's, you know, the ones we hear all the time, like John 3:16 or something like that. But I do know that it said that's what this one says. So I just used the words be kind because that's kind of the theme of this video. So be kind. And then I'm going to put a little bow up top. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit out of frame here. I will get back in frame for you. I'm using just this pretty kind of muted rosy, peachy, I don't know what color that even is, with some of this really pretty soft. It's not like the burlap ribbon. It's a soft ribbon. I love it. And I'm going to use it later in this video, and I didn't have enough, and I wish I could find some more, but I haven't been able to find it at my Dollar Tree again. But I hope they get it back because I really love it. I'm a shabby chic kind of girl, and I think that this ribbon lends very well to the shabby chic. I'm kind of not really like old-timey shabby chic. I'm more of a modern shabby chic. So I love this. I love this look right here. This is one of my favorite pieces. Okay, then I picked up this little house at Dollar Tree. We've seen them in the nautical section, and I took the little sand dollar off, sanded down the sticky. I'm taping off that little rooftop because I tried to take it off and I was afraid I was going to break it, and I really wanted to keep it intact. Then I decided after 2 coats of this white linen chalk paint that I could still see the words through there. So I took this wood scrapbook paper, wood grain, and I glued it down there. I took my X-Acto knife and my little scraper and made it work, and I glued it with the big old glue stick, and that glue stick was gifted to me, and I'm telling you, I'm going to look for some as soon as it's gone because it is an amazing glue stick. Now I'm taking the antique wax by, who makes that? Waverly, that we all love, and putting that on top. And I also covered the back in that same scrapbook paper just randomly with the scraps I had. I made this decal on my Cricut because I love this scripture, and fortunately the transfer tape did not mess up my scrapbook paper, but it was one that I had used several times, so it wasn't super sticky. And I love Joshua 24:15. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We're going to serve the Lord. I should have put gonna because that's how we talk in Texas. But I was showing you too that I lost my little dots. And so I just used a Sharpie to make the dots. Nobody's going to know. And here I go with florals. You know, I'm doing it really fast so you can't see that I'm not doing it really good. How about that? You know, I'm not really good. I don't think I'm really good with florals, but in the end, they end up turning out okay. I don't know why I think I'm not good with them, just because I struggle. I think it's because I struggle. But anyway, here it is. I just keep cutting off these florals that I've had forever, and they go a long way because I just use little bitty pieces of it. This one, I picked up some of these little houses at Dollar General, and I think that said $1.50, and really cute. They stand up by themselves. You can put a picture in them. We're going to use this aluminum cookie sheet again, or baking sheet. Just so happened the corner fit right up in there, but you can just cut it to fit. I put it in there, press it down so it's really easy to tell where to cut.
This stuff cuts so easy and smooth. And supposedly if you cut foil with your scissors, it helps keep them sharp and clean. I don't know. So yeah, it fits in there nicely, and I'm gonna leave the texture on it. You know, not gonna smooth it out, not gonna put any kind of little grooves or anything in it. I'm just gonna put a few little dots of hot glue on there. And the hot glue holds this little aluminum really good, so it doesn't take a whole lot, just a little on each corner. And put this down on there, and you know, it's hot transfers through there, so I'm using my little silicone finger protector from Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to just trim off those edges with an X-Acto knife and make it nice and smooth, but be careful because those edges are sharp. It is metal, even though it's a thin flimsy metal, it is still metal. Okay, so now I have this little square charm, wooden charm that I got in an assortment of charms from somewhere. I don't remember where. Michael's, I think. And I'm going to stain it and the rooftop, the edges of this little house, and so they're all cohesive in color. Now, let's put a decal on this little tag. It says, "I love us," the theme of our video. So I cut this out on my StarCraft solo cutting machine. I'm using my Frisco transfer tape, which is amazing. I'm going to link it in the description box below for you. And the transfer tape just peels the stuff up so easy. That peels that vinyl up so easy. Makes it really easy to transfer whatever you're trying to transfer it onto. Never have a problem with it. Okay, now we're going to look for some placement. I'm going to place it right there. I'm picking a twine bow, trying to figure out where I want to put it. Do I want to put some greenery in there? I have these little sprigs of greenery off of some picks from Dollar Tree, some things I had bought on Amazon, just leftovers from decorations. I really wanted to put it on top of this little tag, charm, whatever you want to call it, and put a little twine bow on there. But like I've mentioned before, I am not the best when it comes to floral arranging. So, yeah, I decided that didn't look right. I didn't like how that looked. So I do like the twine on there. I think the twine bow was a little bit much for that. But, yeah, I'm trying to decide. Where do I want it? What do I want to do with that? So I'm just going to do this little twine bow on there, and then I'm just going to kind of play around with some stuff until I decide what I want, where I want it, and I'll glue it down, and I'll have the finished product. And here we go. Last but not least, this adorable little house. This was a little hanging sign I got from Dollar Tree at Christmas time. It had a lot of glitter, didn't want to sand it, had a little wreath on it. Right there you can see where the wreath was. I just took some brown packing paper, cut it out, traced it off, cut it out, glued it to the back so it looks finished, and I painted this a solid color. You can do it whatever color you want, and I'll end up gluing those little rooftop pieces back on in the end. Now let's create some wood, some shiplap, whatever you want to call it. Now I just kind of eyeball it most of the time, but I'm going to measure them about 1.5 inches each, and I still am just going to measure one side. Then I'm just going to kind of eyeball it across to make sure that I have like about the same amount of space on each end, and make sure my ruler's pretty even, and it looks pretty good. So I can usually eyeball fairly good. And sometimes it gets wonky, but most of the time it's pretty good. So then we're going to make our little chimney. I'm going to take a makeup sponge and cut it down, and I'm going to do with this, what color is that? Elephant Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to just do a little stone effect. So getting rid of all the crumbs, don't like crumbs. So I'm just doing it like you're laying bricks, and I really kind of want it to look more like stone than bricks, so that's why I'm doing the gray. Okay, and they don't have to be all even or anything, because if you've ever seen a stone fireplace, they're not even. Now, these lines, I'm going to use a really fine tip paintbrush and my ruler and just make some not so neat lines. And they don't have to be solid all the way across. We just want it to look like, the first project we did, those lines in the wood. So I'm going to use my pencil to kind of darken them up a little bit. So that pencil line will be a little darker and I won't need so much paint. So you can make it a little bit thicker in some areas, a little thinner in some areas. It's really not going to matter, because you're going to see in the end it's going to look cute. So I'm just going quickly, and I'm kind of rubbing my paintbrush on that paper just to kind of get the tip to be a little more pointy so it doesn't get all flattened out. Clean up those crumbs, dust it off. I don't like grit and grime or anything. Okay, here we go back with our chimney. That's what that thing is called. So I have a little bit lighter gray. This is Aged Gray by Rust-Oleum. And we're going to just give it some little highlights, give it some dimension, make it look like stone. And there we go. I think I like the way that looks. So now I'm just going to dry brush some of this Aged Gray across here very lightly, just to give it some highlights right kind of in the middle of those wood planks. Very dry brush. You can see I'm even using some of the paint. I'm trying to see where those little rooftops are going to lay, to see where to put the dry brushing. Now we have some Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle. Going to use a chippy brush. Going to do some dry brushing. This is an old chippy brush. It's really stiff, but I love to do it with when I'm trying to do some dry brushing, and it's very small and narrow, so I can get in like those little crevices. I can kind of make lines to make it look like wood grain, and I like to make the wood grain look like it's coming from the outside of the wood planks. I mean, obviously you're not going to make it look like real wood, but I think this is a very nice effect. I think it looks really good. You can do however much, however little you want. Just keep doing it until you achieve the look that you want. That's what I do. And if you get too much, you can always go back with a lighter color and kind of cover it back up, the color that you did on the background. Now I'm just taking a dry cloth, soft old t-shirt cut up, and just smooth it off. Now I'm going to take my Truffle Waverly chalk paint and just kind of brush it on here. It doesn't have to be really perfect because they're already brown, but I just felt like they needed a fresh coat of paint. So I'm going to get the edges a little bit because they were that cardboard looking color, and you'll be able to see them, so we're going to paint them. we have to be extra. If we're going to be a little extra, we have to be extra all the time. All the edges are painted, the rooftop's painted. Now let's get these shingles. Let's put the shingles on the roof. It's beginning to look like a house. Get it all squared up now. More glue. Get it all glued down. Then I get these little clamps at Dollar Tree. They come in so handy for so many different projects. And so just clamp it down and keep them in place until that glue dries. And voila, dries quick. And now we're going to put our stencil on. Press the stencil down. Good. We're going to do our little Mod Podge trick again. Just paint a good coat over that so we kind of seal the edges of this stencil. So when we paint, we don't have any bleeding. Now, look at all these paintbrushes I've dirtied up. Let's see what we can do to fix that. Back to our project. We're going to use this rich black folk art chalk paint, one of my favorites, and our little dabber. I got these dabbers in a large pack, variety pack of sponge brushes. There were some regular sponge brushes, these dabbers, all different sizes, and I got them at Michael's in a value pack. And so I'm really enjoying these. On these stencils, you don't want to press too hard. You just want to be dabbing. I'm checking to make sure that I don't have any dry spots. I mean, any, spots where I can see the background color through. Now I'm going to lift off the stencil, and here's the reveal. I love this part. I'm not throwing that on the floor. I do have a trash can down there. Just saying that for anybody that's watching for the first time. I love it. See my little excitement there. I love when there's no bleeding. Let me get my little tweezers. I'm telling you, I cannot craft without tweezers. They are a must for me. This ball of greenery when I was doing a baby shower last year. And so I cut off a strand, and I'm just going to wrap it around and make a wreath for the top of our house. So I wrapped it around, tried to figure out how I was going to keep it all intact. So I just wrap the end around the top, put it up there. And I was thinking about a lot of different ways that I could have attached it and made it look really cute. I just decided to go ahead and wrap it around there and tie it around in several places so that it stays together, and then I cut those off, but I leave the tails of them out a little bit so it makes the wreath look a little bit fuller. But I really think this turned out really cute. Now, I think you could take a piece of ribbon and wrap it through there and hang it. I know that's really popular, and I think that would work really cute. But you can see that I'm just tying it around, tying a little knot in it to secure it in several places around. And like I said, I left those little tails of my knot, so that it looked a little fuller, so they kind of stuck out a little bit like a wreath would. Okay, so now, I keep twisting and twisting that thing because I put too much glue on the back, I think. But once it gets glued down, that's remedied. Okay, so now we're going to paint this little wooden heart that I got a whole little tray of assorted ones from Michael's last year after Valentine's Day on clearance. And they're oh so pretty. And so I am going to use it in this little project. And I'm putting a little twine bow on top. Okay, let's get this hot glued down. Little hot glue on the top. Hold it down till it dries. I think it's looking really cute. Fluff it up. Put a little hot glue on the bottom just so it doesn't flop around too much. Put a little glue on the heart. Figure out where it's going to go.
Here. So love these little houses, I love to do them. So in my strawberry video of my strawberry mini tier tray minis. I did one of these houses, and so I thought she needed one too. So hers, mine looks different, but I'm going to link the video of my strawberry video, and then it has a tour of my strawberry kitchen. So I thought I would be really smart and just lay this on there and trace it, but I'm putting it on the inside, not the outside. Sorry about the headshot in there. So what I did was I went ahead and cut that out with that watermelon scrapbook paper. And then, oh yeah, well that was dumb. That's not going to fit. So I just trimmed it down about how much I thought that that little frame took up, and it worked. And so now I'm just painting that white just in case it doesn't fit perfectly in there, in case I made, the edges of not quite so straight. Then you won't really tell because the background of the paper is white. And just using this glue stick. My cousin gave me this glue stick and some of her art supplies that she got rid of. And I am going to look into ordering another one if I ever use this one all up. I have been using it and using it and using it. I'm telling you, it's lasting forever. I'm just going to use my little squeegee and smooth that paper out. And then I have one of these little wooden blocks and a little round. Now I've been using these little wood rounds that I got on Amazon in a big pack. I've been using them for a lot of different projects. Now I'm just painting it with white chalk paint, and I'm going to write, I'm writing watermelon, 25 cents a slice. I think that's what I write. It's been a minute since I did this project. 25 cents slice. That's what I write. Okay. So these came, I'm telling you about these little, I'm going to just sand it a little bit to distress it a little bit. I bought these off Amazon in a huge pack for not very much, and I've just been using them. So they're a really super good buy. And if you want them a little thicker, then you can just glue a couple of them together and make them a little thicker. So I'm just gluing all that stuff down. That's pretty straightforward. Then I'm going to use this pretty green burlap ribbon that I got at Dollar Tree. I love this. It's a pretty green, and it's very good quality. Did I say it's good and I like it? Okay. I'm just going to glue that to the top, make it very simple. I decided that the tails were too long, so I ended up cutting them off a little bit. But this is all I did to this. Super cute, super simple, and I think it's adorable. What do you think? This is some scrap wood I had from, it was a swing set that we had in the backyard for the grandkids, and a storm blew it over and destroyed it, and we couldn't really put it back together. So I told my husband, don't throw that wood away, put it in the shop. And he was like, really, we're going to stack all this wood in the shop? And I said, yes, we are. And I have been making all kinds of things out of it, reusing and repurposing that wood. So, and it's really worn, and you can see that it's kind of distressed looking. So I cut these just cut some little angles at the top to make them look like little houses. And I'm using Fawn by, I believe it's Waverly, and Folk Art, some mossy green color, Italian Sage I think it is. And then the color that I mixed up, I just like that little color I mixed up with a little bit of white and a little bit of maybe buff beige, I'm not sure what it is. Then I took these little home letters that I have had in my stash for so long I can't even remember where I got them. I want to say maybe Hobby Lobby had them on clearance or on sale or something one time, and I bought them, and I just never have used them. So I pulled out the letters to spell out home using the antique wax, wiping it off, dab, 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 wipe, 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 and I think they turned out real cute. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing with these beads. I watered that antique wax down a little bit, just put the beads in one of these little cups, and then I'm going to use this little, I think it's supposed to be to use like with the Cricut to weed, but I don't really use it for that. I use it for all kinds of other things. But anyway, it got these little beads out really quickly. So I'm getting some twine, burlap twine, and I'm going to put this tape on the end, and I'm twist it. Please don't mind my hands covered in paint with no fingernails on. Oh goodness. But I can still make cute crafts. Okay, so I put all those beads on that piece of twine. Now I'm going to make a little tassel. Just wrap that around my fingers a few times. I'm going to tie it at the top of it to the end of my bead string. Oh man, I'm going so fast I can't even tell you what I'm doing. Well, I hope you know how to make a tassel. If you don't, there's plenty of tutorials out there, or I show you in lots of my videos how to make tassels. So we're going to tie a string at the top of that to hold that string down at the top. Cut off the excess, cut the ends of the strings, trim them up, and you have a cute little tassel. I didn't make it very full because I didn't really want a really full one. And then I found this little heart. I ordered these off Amazon because there was a project I wanted to do. I just never have gotten to it yet. And so I thought it would be cute on the end. And then it was just a little too plain for my taste. I love all the stain and the wood and all on this little garland, but I thought it was just a little bit plain. So I took some of that celery by Waverly, and then some of that white that I had, that off-white that I had mixed up, and I just gave it a little bit of dry brushing. Then I took some 150 grit sandpaper and just sanded the edges of my little houses down a little bit. Just hot glued them together and clean up all the little messy glue pieces. Glue this together and it's going to look so, so cute. Also, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Look how cute this turned out. I think this is really cute, little extra decor piece. I couldn't find the little, whatever you call it, so I made my own by I had these in my stash from Lowe's or Home Depot, and I just took them out to the saw and cut them the length I wanted so I could make one of those little pallet signs. That's what they're called. I didn't have one. So I'm putting the measurements on the back, and I'm just using these little towering tumbling blocks as spacers. I'm going to use some craft sticks as my little boards in the back. I'm using some wood glue and some hot glue. Hot glue adheres it quickly. Wood glue is a little more durable. So there, we have our own little palette. Now I'm using some antique wax by Waverly. I added a little water to it and watered it down. And I'm using an old piece of t-shirt. If you've watched me at all, you know I love to use old cut-up t-shirts to craft with. And so I'm using this old cut-up t-shirt to apply this like a stain. And I do all the front and all in between those little slats. Now I picked up this cute little house at Dollar General for just $1. I'm going to cut those beads off, but I'm saving them because I'm going to reattach them later. And I'm going to paint it moss in Waverly chalk paint. I did give it 2 coats. Now I'm going to take another piece of that old t-shirt and I'm going to kind of dry brush with the t-shirt. Now I used to do this back in the 90s a lot when we did dusty blue and dusty mauve or dusty rose, and we called it whitewash. We whitewashed everything. Now we dry brush or distress everything. Nothing's new under the sun. So then I made this cute little monogram on my Cricut, and I used the font Cruncho Monogram, and it came out the cutest little decal. And so I put it on this little house because I had a friend in mind who I knew would love this little DIY. She's also a subscriber and avid watcher, so here you go, Jennifer, here's your house. And so I just put a little piece of masking tape on the end of this twine so it doesn't fray and it goes through easily. Just looped that around the hole, and I didn't show that I painted that pink bead in the same color as my house. I'm going to knot the end so those beads don't fall off, I believe I double knot it just to make sure. I don't want those beads to fall off anytime soon. Cut off the excess, and then I'm going to put a hanger on the back. So I cut off however much twine I need, measuring to see how long the hanger looks good, you know, how long it needs to be to look good. Then I'm going to tie a knot in each end of that twine, and I'm going to put it down. You're going to see I kind of made a boo-boo and I had to undo it, but I'm going to use my staple gun and I'm going to staple this to the back. The staples were almost too long to go through there, but it worked good. Now, I should have put it on the top one, but nope, I put it on the second one and realized, oh, I don't have enough hanger to come out, so to come out the top to hang it by. So I use my handy dandy tweezers that I use on the daily and my needle nose pliers that I use on the daily, and I just staple this to the top there underneath that knot so it's not going to slip out. And voila, we have a hanger. I think it's a cute little palette sign that didn't cost me very much. And then I'm just going to hot glue this little house down to the front, and it is done. I think it turned out really cute. I kind of toyed. I think I actually did glue that little bead down so it wouldn't flip-flop everywhere.
I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please leave it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you watched the original video with those DIYs in them. And remember to be still and know that He is God.